So Helena, I am so looking forward to being useful to you today. So what's the work that we need to focus on?
I think I'd like a bit of time to talk about what blocks me from cracking on with making happen a particular project that has been brewing and incubating and has a lot of aliveness and energy for me, that I just keep putting off and stalling and saying not yet. And yeah, so something around that. What blocks me, what stops me? I mean, I know some of the reasons, or at least I can, I've identified some, but yeah, to talk that through would be great.
Okay. So it sounds like you have got energy for it, and yet it's just not getting there because of you're suspecting there's some blockages in there. So how will you know you've got what you need by the time we finish our work?
Well, I definitely don't need to have, committed to action on this, because I think just a couple of new perspectives or different understanding of something that I already think is there. Yeah.
Okay. So we're building on something.
I think so.
Yeah. It sounds like you already know some of the blockages, but there may be some other stuff to unpick underneath that.
And even with those blockages that I do know, and maybe there are other ones for sure, it's like, what's stopping me from unblocking a blockage?
Yeah.
Even if the block I've identified is like correct, what stops me from unblocking it? Yeah. So something along those lines.
Yes. Okay. So we're kind of peeling the onion, getting underneath. And so what's your sense of what we need to cover in order to get to the blockers and what's blocking the blockers?
Oh, well, I guess naming them, sort of putting them on the table in front of us, seeing if there's anything else there. Yeah, that might be a good place to start, I think.
And what is it that's important to you about this right here, right now?
Because it's something, the thing I want to do is something that really matters to me. I think it has value. I have energy for it. I think it could be great. Yeah, it matters.
I really hear that in your voice. The moving towards, and yet there's a not moving towards by the sound.
Really, yeah.
And how would you like you and I to work together on this today?
Just batting things back and forth. Yeah, nothing more specific than that, really.
Okay. So where would you like to start in batting it back and forth?
Well, let me see if that's true, what I said, that just putting them out there, naming the blocks might give something. So the first, I think, is, the thing about whether you put the big stones in the jar first. And so the first is I just fill up my jar with sand. So I fill it up to the brim with sand, and then I'm super surprised when there's no room for this big stone. Yeah. So I think there's just sand. And the fact that I fill my time with that. I think linked to that is busyness. This thing about not giving myself enough. What is? I forget who calls it. Cal Newport, deep thinking time. Really, dedicating a block of time when I can make progress on this. And then there's certainly fear. It's like, but this is a new departure for me. It's not going to go well. And there are two things. So there's fear and there's self-talk. So there's self-talk, which is, it'll be shit. It won't work. You won't get anybody signing up. It's. So there's self-talk, and there's fear that it really, may not work or be right in some way. Let's see what else. And there's a kind of a technical blocker, which is, but I have to work with Eventbrite and sign-ups and, the technology of it, the administration. admin and detail is so not my thing. So I can conceive of this thing, but then making it happen. So there's a technical, I'm going to call it technical admin thing going on there as well. Yeah, those are quite a few. It's like, oh yeah, no wonder I'm not getting this thing done. Look at what's in my way there.
And what are you noticing about them?
Well, there's a lot of them, right? It's like, well, flipping heck, Helena, give yourself a break. There's a lot of stuff that you're asking yourself to kind of overcome, or I don't know. They also feel true and real. What I don't know is which is the one that holds the key to shifting something. I think fear could come off the list. It's like, yeah, sure, it might not work. I'm okay with that. It's like, it's an experiment. It's a risk. It means, sticking my head above the parapet. I'm okay with that. So that's probably not a big one. Likewise, the self-talk, I can counter that. I can have a conversation with myself, with the part of me that is, my risk manager, I guess. So then I look at busying out with non-essential, just life domestication, life admin, work stuff, and the kind of practical, technical aspects of it, I think. Yeah, so those three. There's too much sand, not enough space, and they're linked, and the tech side of things. Yeah.
So what do you know now that you didn't know when we first started?
Well, I think I now have two and a half things that feel real and meaningful, not 5, really. And they do feel real. Filling my time and the admin side of things. Yeah, because I can roll those first 2 into one. The sand and the busyness. There's just lots of little things I just keep shoving in. Yeah. So I have 2 things, and that feels about right. That feels true.
So where do we need to go next?
I'm not sure. So I was inclined to want to, do a engineer's job of saying, right, what needs to happen to get that, and I don't know that that's quite there. I wonder if there's something about the beliefs I'm holding first about those 2 things before I go into engineer mode. Probably.
Go on then. What are the beliefs you're holding?
So the admin one is, so there's something about I'm rubbish at detail. I mean, I think there's a huge amount of truth in that.
Are you rubbish at detail?
I can't imagine why you'd question me like that, Claire, but I think there's a truth there, as well as it being a belief. I don't enjoy it. I get a bit stressed and bothered by it. So I think the thing I've said to myself actually is, why wouldn't I work with somebody who loves a bit of admin and a bit of detail, and why wouldn't I partner with somebody who can support me with the practical side of things? And I've tried, why do I feel the need to do this all on my own? I have stuff about asking for help and being self-sufficient, for sure. And I have reached out a couple of times for some admin support, the kind of, does anybody have a VA who might support me with this? And I've never had a big resounding yes on that. People have said, oh, well, my VA was, but she's just stopped working, or I know somebody, but she doesn't have much time. So I've kind of got stuck on that a couple of times. But I think the beliefs are around I have to do this on my own. It's difficult to even find somebody. Yeah, the belief I think is about it's difficult. All this kind of admin-y stuff, finding somebody to support me, it's difficult. And even finding somebody requires admin. Sorry, Claire?
How true is that it's difficult?
It can't be that difficult. People do it all the time. So, you know, objectively it isn't. And I wonder whether it's one of those tasks that needs half a day and isn't one that, you know, comes back to the sand, I guess. It's like, well, if finding somebody or even doing the admin is so bothersome to me, it's going to be doubly bothersome if I'm trying to do it in the tiny moments that I make available. So actually maybe it needs like a half day to reach out and speak and have a half day dedicated to finding somebody or setting up the admin myself. So it's not objectively difficult, actually.
And there's a tie to the other one around creating or treating it as a big rock.
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose there's the thing about fear comes back actually, because if I fix the technical problem of getting the admin sorted, then it brings it even more closer actually. Well, this could actually go live in the world. Oh shit. Then I would have to step up and show up, and so I wonder if that's there as well in some way.
So the fear rears its head again once
kind of comes back again, right? Yeah. Yeah. And fear, and where do I find the courage to just do this? Yeah.
Courage.
Yeah. No, I had a sentence, and that's making me think of, but it doesn't have an ending. So yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So what else is coming up for you?
Well, there's also something around why am I trying so hard? You know, I think one of the things that lockdown has got me thinking about is all this kind of striving in the world, you know, all this kind of push to be performative and to, I don't know, you know, develop new stuff or put your stuff out there. Part of me is just like, it's like, stop it. So there's another part of me is like, if this is, you know, if this isn't happening naturally, why not just put it in a drawer for a bit, you know, and trust that when I don't know if the time is right, it will happen. So there is also that.
And can I check in on that earlier you said you had some excitement or some energy for it, and now you're talking about shutting it in a drawer for a while and seeing what happens. So what?
Yeah, I think there's a practical thing there too. In part it's because for the first time I haven't been working 6 days a week, you know, over lockdown. And I'm kind of going, this is quite nice. It's quite hard to adjust to, but wow, okay, there's some appeal here. So why would I want to fill in those spaces? But also, there's something for me about when people are so concerned with existential stuff, you know, and really, can I feed my kids? What the hell is happening in the world? You know, what the actual? There's also something for me around where am I offering this new thing, where it fits with that, you know, is it, it's like, why would I, unless, yeah, it's like, why would I invest time on that? Wouldn't my time be better spent working in the food bank? So it's something around, actually, is this what the world needs? And will it land well? Will it feel like it's not just important? And I think it is, actually, but will it be perceived as important in this, you know, in the way the world is now? So there is another thing that goes on the blocker list, I think, which is about really now, you know, is that really what's needed? Well, and I think it is. Actually, okay. I think it is. But there's definitely that going around too.
So there's a question in your head about whether it's the right time, the right thing, and you're answering that question with, yes, it is.
Right. I think so. And the word comes up, which is faith. You know, it's I trust that this does actually in some ways not meet a need, but it matters. And I can take a stand for that, actually. You know, if somebody said, what the hell is this now? I'd actually be really strong in saying, well, actually, this is why it's relevant. This is why it matters. This is its contribution to things. Actually, and that's really helpful. Just connecting with my clarity around that. Yeah, which is about, you know, I have a voice. I think I have something to say. Yeah.
So Helena, we have 4 minutes left. What was most useful to you in that 4 minutes?
Well, nothing springs to mind other than it's just worth reminding myself what I've said around, I do think that this project has value, that it can make a contribution, and if the timing isn't quite right, when is it ever going to be quite right, particularly in the coming year? So like, if not now, when? So it's just been helpful to hear my my faith in it, really. I think the fact that yes, I may need a bit more courage. Yes, I will need some practical help. But it's kind of been helpful to hear myself say I have faith in it, and I think it matters. And then on a practical, you know, takeaway point, it's like, yeah, and I think I need to find somebody who can work with me on the setup side. And that feels like creating it as a project in my, you know, to-do list, rather than it feels like it needs some dedicated time to set this up so that I'll be well supported. So that's
And I keep hearing the little bird tweeting in the background, and I'm wondering what is the bird saying to you?
Well, they don't shut up, do they, the birds, especially now? So there's something about just you know, sing your song.
Sing your song. Oh, beautiful. So you said you wanted to name these blockers and to perhaps get underneath the surface. And it sounds like you've got to a point of having faith in yourself and this piece of work.
I think so. Yeah, it's been really helpful to just talk that out and see what else might be there. And so no, that's good. That's been really helpful. Thank you.
Do we need to do anything else by way of pinning you down to any experiments or
No, we do
Anything
not.
like that.
But,
No.
no, but I will, you know, like commit here that to find an admin support would be fantastic, and that's my commitment to action. Actually, it's to, because that I think will unblock a lot of things.
Yeah. So is that a good place to finish?
It is. Thank you.
Thank you.